Other side of the table, Diptyque Laurent is here with a look at what's making headlines across the world, starting with the not-so-flattering reactions of the French presidential debate yesterday.
Not flattering at all, Will. A sad spectacle. That's what the Belgian paper Le Soir says on its front page. In Switzerland, the Swiss daily Le Temps says the debate left a bitter taste. Macron had the most to lose from this debate, the paper says, and Marine Le Pen and her harassing techniques, I quote there, managed to put him in a difficult position. Now let's look at some of the other vocabulary emerging in the other papers. Politico calls it nasty, brutish, and long, a bad-tempered debate that underscored disagreement on everything with a venomous tone from the start. Macron, the website says, struck a professorial tone and was at times verging on smugness. Now, the German paper Frankfurter Allgemeiner calls it the most aggressive debate in French presidential history, one in which Marine Le Pen was acting as if she were the leader of the opposition and did not have to be responsible for the government.
Now, some papers also taking note of the lack of the discussion around the electoral policies from both candidates.
That's right. A lot of foreign papers picking up on the fact there was a lot of insults and little policy debate. The Washington Post says the debate was marked by hostility and insult. The event rarely reached the level of, quote, highly detailed policy discussions that normally characterize French political discourse. Instead, both Macron and Le Pen, I quote, went for the jugular in a spectacle that the paper says mirrored the interactions between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in their debates last year. The British daily The Guardian notes that it was a debate heavier on insults than policy detail. Viewers lost count, I quote, of the times Macron mocked Le Pen's recourse to her notes. She snapped back by calling him arrogant and babyish. And it's all sort of really been summed up in this cartoon from the French cartoonist Philippe Morel, maybe the viciousness of their insults. You might say verbal vomit coming from Marine Le Pen right on to Emmanuel Macron, who's forced to defend himself in that debate.
All right, moving on to the United States now, where Republican leaders are planning to vote to repeal and replace Obamacare.
Well, House Republicans are holding a showdown vote this Thursday. That's what the New York Times says. They've raised $8 billion in funding to cover insurance costs of those with pre-existing conditions to sort of sweeten the deal. It was a key concern for those who defend Obamacare. But the vote carries enormous potential consequences, the Times says, not only for millions of patients who could be affected by the new changes, but also House Speaker Paul Ryan. He's failed twice in recent weeks to bring the bill to the House floor. The vote, of course, also comes just a few days after U.S. TV host Jimmy Kimmel made an emotional plea on TV for universal health care as he recounted the ordeal that he faced with his newborn son, who was born with a pre-existing condition and had to be operated on. For the Post's writer, Kimmel's monologue this week underlined the difficulty of Republicans in bringing this bill to the floor because, I quote, the gut response of most Americans is that Kimmel is right and right-wing ideologues are wrong. That's why Trump and his party try and pretend this bill isn't cruel and it isn't threatening the health coverage of millions when it really is.
And moving on, the continuing tensions between the British government and the European Union over Brexit talks, that's continuing to dominate papers in the UK.
All the major UK papers today are talking about it on their front pages. Let's look at a few of them. The Guardian says Theresa May has declared war on Brussels. While The Independent says May is playing her Trump card. She's been accused of crude electioneering while she claims the EU is meddling in British elections. This comes, of course, after details of a tense and strained meeting with Jean-Claude Juncker, the EU Commission president, which were leaked to the German press earlier this week that essentially portrayed Theresa May as unpleasant and difficult. Now, the Telegraph has actually come out in defense of Theresa May. The paper's writer in this article says the bill that the EU is imposing on the UK is so, quote, belligerent, so absurdly punitive that they will be remembered as a seminal moment in the hardening of British opinion.
Well, from Brexit believers to believers, Justin Bieber set to tour India next month. His list of tour demands making some headlines, aren't they?
That's right. It's his first time touring to India, but Bieber is making an impression for what he wants in his hotel room. Among his crazy demands, the Hindustan Times reports that he wants 10 containers to be flown in, including things like a ping pong table, washing machine, refrigerator. Obviously, he thinks these are things you don't find in India. He also wants white T-shirts, tank tops, and low-rise socks in every dressing room. And he's got some culinary demands like mint and watermelon chewing gum. And curiously, he's specified that there be no lilies anywhere near him during the duration of his stay in India.
Very particular. I wonder if there are a lot of Beliebers in India. I guess there must be.
I guess there must be, yeah.
All right. Diptika Lauren with a roundup of the international press. That's all for now. Please stay tuned. More news coming up in just a moment.